Imagine, the leader of Nazi Germany, the man who stood at the head of one of the most terrible apparatuses in human history, suddenly becomes obsessed with an ancient legend. Not weapons, not tanks, not aviation. No, his heart yearns for something completely different, the Holy Grail. The very same cup from which, according to legend, Christ drank during the Last Supper. The very same relic in which, according to legend, the divine blood spilled on the cross was collected. An artifact that knights, alchemists, monks, and adventurers dreamed of for centuries. And so, in the 20th century, in the very heart of the dark Third Reich, one of its supreme leaders begins a serious hunt for this relic. But why? Can you imagine Himmler, the cold-blooded architect of the SS, sitting over ancient manuscripts and monastery maps, whispering about the Grail like a medieval mystic? But this is not fiction, it is reality. The story goes that Himmler believed that the Grail was the key to a new empire, that it contained the power of the ancient gods, the power of blood, the power that could transform the SS into an order of supermen. Sounds crazy? Maybe, but isn't the entire history of Nazi Germany permeated with madness, where secret societies searched for Shambhala and scientists from the Ahnenerbe tried to find traces of the Aryans in Tibet? Now imagine an even more sinister picture. Wewelsburg Castle, the heart of the SS, transformed into a mystical center. Underground halls, black symbols on the floor, torches, rituals. And there, among the stone walls, Himmler, confident that his warriors are the new knights and that they are destined to find the Holy Grail as the heroes of the legends of King Arthur once sought it. Why the Grail? What did Himmler see in it? And most importantly, did he find it? History is full of guesses, strange coincidences, and frightening rumors. Some claim that the SS actually found traces of the artifact in Spain. Others claim that the Grail was never found, but part of its power was awakened. There are even theories that it was precisely because of occult experiments that the Reich collapsed so quickly, as if the awakened force turned away from those who dared to disturb it. Today we will look together into the darkest pages of history. We will follow in the footsteps of the Ahnenerbe, find ourselves in the gloomy corridors of Wewelsburg, touch the legends about the cup that the hands of the Savior touched, and perhaps we will understand why Himmler needed the Grail, and why this story still excites minds. But be warned, what you're about to hear isn't just dry facts. It's legends that may sound like truth, and truth that sounds like legend. Are you ready? Then welcome to the mystery where sacred things intertwine with curses, and history becomes more terrifying than myth. Usually when we hear the name Heinrich Himmler, cold images pop into our heads. Camps, racial laws, the iron discipline of the SS. But behind this image there was another, much darker side. Himmler was an unusually superstitious man. Unlike Hitler, who believed more in his own mission, Himmler was fascinated by legends, mysticism, magic, and secret societies. His diaries and notes are full of references to ancient Germanic gods, Celtic cults, and runic symbols. He believed that history was not just a chain of events. For him, it was a struggle of hidden forces, light and darkness, secret orders, keepers of ancient knowledge. And he was sure that to win, you need to have not only weapons, but also ancient relics. Thus, Himmler became a man obsessed with searching for something that could give power not for years, but for centuries. And the pinnacle of this search was the Holy Grail. First, it is worth recalling what the Grail is. According to Christian tradition, this is the cup from which Christ drank at the Last Supper, and into which Joseph of Arimathea collected the blood from the cross. Since then, the cup has disappeared, but faith in it has lived on for centuries. In the Middle Ages, knights believed that the Grail could grant immortality, protection, and a connection with God himself. In 12th century poets, it appears not just as a cup, but as a kind of vessel of divine truth. Some legends link the Grail to the Knights Templar. They allegedly guarded the relic, passing it down from generation to generation. Others believe that the Grail was hidden in Spain, in French castles, in Catalan monasteries, or in remote corners of Britain. For Himmler, the Grail was not a symbol of faith, but a real object of power. He believed that if it were found, it would become a source of power, a weapon superior to all else. To get closer to the secrets of the past, Himmler founded a mysterious organization in 1935, the Ahnenerbe Ancestral Heritage. Officially, its mission was scientific research into the history of the German race. But in reality, the Ahnenerbe was involved in archaeology, ethnography, magical practices, the search for relics, and even experiments in parapsychology. The society included hundreds of people: historians, archaeologists, mystics, engineers, esotericists. They studied runes, ancient manuscripts, myths, and legends. They went on expeditions around the world trying to prove that the Aryans were the descendants of the most ancient and powerful civilization. And among all these expeditions, one of the main goals was the search for the Grail. The history of the Ahnenerbe resembles the plot of a mystical novel. In 1938-1939, German expeditions set off for Tibet. There they searched for the legendary Shambhala, a hidden kingdom of sages that, according to legend, holds secret knowledge and relics. In the Caucasus, the Nazis were looking for traces of the ancient Aryans and mysterious shrines hidden in the mountains. In Iceland, they studied ancient sagas about the cups of the gods and magical objects of the Vikings. Even in Antarctica, according to rumors, the Germans were trying to find gates to other worlds. Each expedition was accompanied by rituals. The SS believed that they were continuing the work of the ancient orders. Their emblems and signs were not just symbols, but magical keys. But the most famous expedition concerned Spain and the monastery of Montserrat. In 1940, Himmler visited Spain. The official purpose of his visit was to meet Franco, but historians are certain that the real purpose was different. In the mountains of Catalonia, among the rocks and fog, stands the monastery of Montserrat. For centuries, it has been considered a place of power. According to legend, it was here that the monks kept the Grail in the Middle Ages. Himmler personally arrived at the monastery. Imagine this picture. One of the most terrible men in Europe enters the holy place where monks have prayed for centuries. And instead of talking about politics, he asks them about legends, about the cup, about ancient manuscripts. Witnesses recalled that the monks were amazed by his questions. He insisted, demanded to tell them everything they knew about the Grail. But the monks did not reveal the secrets to him. There is a theory that despite the silence of the priests, Himmler did receive something: manuscripts or maps, perhaps clues leading to the next step. After his trip to Spain, Himmler focused even more on his mystical program. Wewelsburg Castle became his main residence. But it was not just a castle, it turned into a real temple. In its dungeons, the Hall of the Dead was created, a dark room with the symbol of the black sun on the floor. According to legend, the Holy Grail was supposed to stand in the center of this hall. The upper halls contained the Knight's Room, where 12 chairs surrounded a central place, like a new round table. The highest SS officers, whom Himmler considered new knights, gathered there. The task of these knights was not only to wage wars, they were to become guardians of secret knowledge and prepare a new era. Many historians still argue, was Wewelsburg an ordinary headquarters, or was it really a temple of black magic, where rituals were held and where a place was prepared for the Grail? And now we come to the most important question: how did the search end? History does not provide a clear answer. Some argue that the whole search was just an illusion. Himmler never found the cup. Everything remained only in the realm of his dreams, but there are other versions. Some researchers are sure that he did receive something valuable in Spain. Perhaps he never got the Grail, but a trace of it was found. And there are even more sinister rumors that Himmler actually touched the artifact, but the Grail rejected him. After all, according to legend, the Grail cannot belong to a person with an impure heart. According to these stories, this was the mystical reason for the collapse of the Reich. The force they were trying to awaken turned away from them, and evil could not hold on to the sacred place. After the war, the Allies captured Wewelsburg. Many documents were destroyed. The manuscripts that Himmler could have brought from Spain disappeared without a trace. What happened to them? It is believed that some of these papers are still kept in the secret archives of the Vatican. Other researchers believe that they fell into the hands of secret societies that continue to keep the secret. Wewelsburg Castle still remains a place of pilgrimage for mystics. People claim that strange energy can be felt in its dungeons. The symbol of the black sun continues to attract researchers and esotericists from all over the world. And every time we hear the word Grail, we remember not only the legends of Arthur's Knights, but also the sinister story of the 20th century, where one of the most terrible people in Europe dreamed of becoming its keeper. The search for the Holy Grail was only part of a vast relic hunt program conducted by Himmler, the Spear of Destiny, aka the Spear of Longinus. According to legend, this spear was used to pierce Christ on the cross. The legend said that whoever wields this spear will gain power over the world. Hitler was personally interested in this relic, and according to rumors, in 1938, after the Anschluss of Austria, the spear ended up in the hands of the Reich, the philosopher's stone. Alchemists sought it for centuries, believing it would grant immortality and turn any metal into gold. Some Ahnenerbe documents show that Germans studied alchemical treatises in the hope of finding the key to eternal life. Runes and ancient artifacts. Himmler had a special meaning for Germanic runes. He believed that each rune was a key to hidden energy. That is why the SS symbolism was filled with these signs. All these searches were connected by one goal: to create an empire based not only on the army and economy, but also on mystical power. Himmler dreamed of turning the SS into something like the Knights Templar. In his view, SS officers were not just soldiers, but initiates, people who held in their hands not only weapons, but also secret knowledge. Wewelsburg Castle was intended as the new center of this order. The hall with the black sun is a symbol of the source of energy. The Knight's Room with 12 chairs is a reflection of the Round Table. It was planned that the Grail would become the heart of this temple. Imagine if the plan had succeeded. A new cult would have arisen in the center of Europe, where ancient legends and relics would have been intertwined with politics and war. Himmler's obsession, the answer lies in the symbolism. For medieval knights, the Grail was not just a cup, but a path to divine light. Whoever found it became the chosen one. For Himmler, it sounded perfect. The SS were the chosen knights, and he was their Grand Master. Possession of the Grail would confirm that their order was not just an organization, but a mystical force destined to change the world. But there is a tragedy here. After all, according to legend, the Grail can only be obtained by the pure of heart, and perhaps that is why the search was doomed. There are several versions according to which the Grail was actually discovered. Spanish connection. According to rumors, during his visit to Montserrat, Himmler actually gained access to ancient manuscripts. Allegedly, they contained indications that the Grail was kept in another monastery, Valencia. The Valencia Cathedral does indeed still contain a cup that the Catholic Church recognizes as a possible Grail. The French connection. In the vicinity of Montségur, the Cathar fortress, there were legends that the vessel was hidden there. Allegedly, the expeditions of the Ahnenerbe secretly explored these places. German trace. There is a bold version that the relic did fall into the hands of Himmler and was kept in Wewelsburg for some time. But after the war, the Allies took it away and hid it in secret storage facilities. No less mysterious are the legends of the opposite kind. Some mystics claim that Himmler actually approached the relic, but it did not accept him. There is a version that during one of the rituals in Wewelsburg, Himmler tried to connect with the power of the Grail. But instead of revelation, he experienced something like mystical horror. From that moment on, his health began to deteriorate, and his faith in victory gradually faded. These legends link the fall of the Third Reich, not only with military defeats, but also with the fact that fate itself turned its back on them. Interestingly, many historians note that in 1943, when it became clear that the war was turning against Germany, Himmler increasingly turned to mystical themes. He believed less and less in military victories and more in the possibility of a miracle. SS soldiers recalled that at meetings he spoke of strength of spirit and that victory will come to those who are worthy of it. To many, this sounded strange, as if he was not expecting military assistance, but the intervention of higher powers. Today, the question of the fate of the Grail remains a mystery. The Valencia Cathedral houses a chalice that the Church has recognized as a possible relic. The Montserrat Monastery displays the Black Madonna, a statue that is also associated with the Grail legend. In France, in the vicinity of Montségur, excursions are still conducted to the places where the Cathars allegedly hid the shrine. There is even a theory that the Grail is not an object at all, but a symbol, that it is knowledge, light, truth, accessible only to the chosen ones. When we think back on this story, it is precisely the duality that is striking. On the one hand, a man involved in some of the most monstrous crimes of the 20th century. On the other, a fanatical mystic who was looking for a relic shrouded in legends of knights and poets. And in this duality, a real tragedy is born. Because the legends of the Grail always spoke of purity, light, truth. And in Himmler's hands, they turned into a shadow, into an attempt to make the holy things serve evil. It is interesting that the Nazis' search for the Grail still excites people's minds. This theme has inspired writers, directors, researchers. It is enough to recall Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, where the plot of the search for the Grail clearly refers to the Ahnenerbe of Wewelsburg, and its connection with secret energies is still discussed. And tourists from all over the world come to Montserrat and Wewelsburg to feel the breath of history and mysticism. And it seems that Himmler himself, even after losing, still left a mark. He turned an ancient legend into a symbol of a dark thirst for power. So how did this story end? We don't know if Himmler found the Grail. We don't know if it exists as an object. But we know for sure, the legend turned out to be stronger than history. Every time we hear about the Holy Grail, we think not only of Arthur's knights, but also of the people of the 20th century who tried to seize this power. And this is what makes history so compelling. It remains on the border between myth and reality, light and darkness, faith and fanaticism. And so we come to the end of this story. What do we see? A man who wielded enormous power and could decide the fate of millions, searching for a shrine shrouded in legends of millennia. A cup sought by knights, alchemists, and mystics. We do not know whether he found the Grail. Perhaps this relic remained a secret, hidden from humanity. But one thing is certain. Himmler left behind a trace that still excites the imagination. This story reminds us that the power a person craves may not be the power he seeks. Sometimes legends are stronger than history itself. And even decades later, we continue to ask ourselves, what is the Grail? A relic? A symbol? Or perhaps a powerful artifact that has rejected its last seeker? If you like this video, if you love stories about the secrets and mysticism of history, subscribe to the channel, like it, and be sure to write your opinion in the comments. Could Himmler find the Grail? Every thought you have helps us uncover new mysteries of history, and we will continue to search for its darkest and most mystical pages to share them with you. Remember, behind every legend there is reality, and sometimes reality turns out to be frighteningly close to myth.